Tony.
And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you.
Hello gamers and welcome back to the Inn. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. And let me just say right off the bat, this is obviously not our normal recording kind of area. I'm not at my house, not at the office, so I'm going to do my best with what I got to kind of put together at least a decent video for you guys. If you didn't catch the Twitch stream of them announcing the new expansion, obviously Whispers of the Old Gods, I'll kind of cover everything that they went over during that, and also we'll kind of take a look at the new cards that came out. There's only 5 or 6, so this video is going to be probably pretty short because there's not a whole lot to talk about yet, but when the new cards begin, like, you know, let's say 10 to 30 cards are released at a time, we'll bushel them together, we'll talk about them. I'll be in the office or my house probably at that time. We'll have Tony to join us, who can put in a lot of good input as well, and we'll go from there. So off the bat, there's going to be 134 new cards with this new expansion. Again, Whispers of the Old Gods. So far, every card released and what they've mentioned looks promising. So I'm actually really looking forward to this expansion. We had LOE, which was a great adventure mode. So if we can follow up with another solid expansion, I'll be really excited in the direction Hearthstone's going to take. Off the bat, we can expect this to come out late April, early May. Again, 134 new cards, and also, just I believe like GVG, they're going to give players 3 free packs for logging in between their like celebration time for when the expansion is released. So I'm expecting there to be a 2 or 3 week window from when the expansion, you know, hits until they'll stop this, you know, celebration event, and which any time in there, if you want to log into Hearthstone, you'll be able to get, like I mentioned, 3 free packs, and along with Cthulhu, which is one of the 4 old gods coming to us in this next Hearthstone expansion. So it's actually pretty cool that Blizzard's going to go ahead and give you a free legendary first of all, and also 3 packs like I mentioned before, which is pretty cool. They don't have to do that, so it's nice of them. These are the cards that were, all of the cards that were released today during the Twitch stream highlighting this next new expansion, so we'll kind of go over each and how they work together. Some of them do, and then some of them obviously don't. So Cthulhu himself, let's go over him. He's a 10-drop, 6/6, so he doesn't seem that great, but his battle cry and the other cards that go with him actually make him a card I believe is going to be pretty good in the upcoming expansion. But we'll only tell with time. As we know, it's kind of hard to judge cards and how good they are until they're actually released and we can see all of the cards as a whole. So what me and Tony in the future videos that we do on the cards coming out, if we say something's absolutely crazy or something's not very good, this is just our speculation. We don't know until the cards are all out there. We're able to make decks with them and come up with a good decision from there. But from here, it's just speculative. And we're just guessing. But off the bat, he looks pretty good. So, Battle Cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack, randomly split among all enemies. So, as of now, if you played him, he would do 6 damage, randomly split among enemies. I actually have a video here highlighting his ability, and he's actually much bigger. He's at 14/14 in this video, and I'll actually discuss how he's able to do that. And as you can see, he wrecked the board. I mean, that's an insane animation, looks really cool, and you can definitely turn the tide on pretty much any class and whoever you're going against with an ability like that, unless you're playing against patrons, and that would actually be the worst thing that could ever happen, is to deal 1 damage to them repeatedly. But we won't discuss that. We'll actually discuss, most of the time, good card to play. So how does he get higher than 6/6, you ask? So you have cards like Beckoner of Evil, and it says Battle Cry, give your Cthulhu +2/+2, or wherever it is, which is really cool because whether this minion is in your hand, he's in your deck, he gets the +2/+2. So when you do play him, he actually will be able he'll be an 8/8. If you play, you know, 2 Beckoner of Evils, he'll be a 10/10. And the cool thing about this as well is when you play Beckoner of Evil or a card that is able to buff your Cthulhu, there's actually a little animation that'll pop up in the left-hand corner of the board, and it'll show you your current status of the Cthulhu. And you didn't get to see it in the video there, but if you do want to see that animation, you go back to the Twitch stream and you'll be able to see it there. It's from like the beginning half of the winter preliminaries, I believe it was. But it's a really cool animation, and they've definitely spent a lot of time thinking about this card and how it should interact with Hearthstone, and also little cool features like the animation on the side. So besides that, Beckoner of Evil, we kind of went over her ability, but we didn't really go over her stats. So she's a 2-drop, 2/3, so the stats are, you know, decent. I like 2/3 more than 3/2 on her in this situation because she's able to make trades with cards that she might not be able to. Anything with 2 attack, you know, she would die from it, but now she's able to live from that 2 attack. She also doesn't really die from the hero power most of the time because a mage, you know, if you have a 3/2 out, they can ping it twice if they have the time to do that. With 2/3, it's a little bit harder to get rid of. And her battle cry is a little bit slower, so I think that's why they made her a 2/3. Moving on to the Corrupted Healbot. Actually, we're going to skip the Corrupted Healbot and go to the Twilight Elder, just because both of these cards synchronize with the Cthulhu, and we're going to cover the cards that synchronize first, and then we'll go to the other cards. So, Twilight Elder is a 3-drop, 3/4, so his stats are actually pretty good, and it says at the end of your turn, give your Cthulhu +1/+1, wherever it is. So, whether, again, if it's in your hand or in your deck, it doesn't matter, it's going to get that +1/+1. It's pretty much like an Emperor for your Cthulhu, and it gives it +1/+1 instead of decreasing the cost. The stats on this are actually fairly good, so if you actually get this in Arena or something like that, the stats on it are fair enough that you can play this card and maybe not have Cthulhu, and it still stands on its own. But obviously in ranked play or ladder, you want to get the best bang for your buck, so obviously it would only go into Cthulhu decks, or if that becomes a thing, maybe the card isn't good enough in the long run. But either way, the stats, are fair for the price of 3-drop, and the ability, obviously, if you're playing a Cthulhu deck, that's something that you're looking for. So I can definitely see this card being played in Cthulhu decks, wherever that may, pop up, or they'd be good, they're bad, I don't know yet, but obviously, for the purpose of this card, it seems fairly good. Corrupted Healbot, he's a 5-drop, 6/6, and it says Death Rattle, restore 8 health to the enemy hero. So instead of Antique Healbot healing yourself for 8, it's actually Death Rattle, heal your opponent for 8, but he's a little bit bigger than the Antique Healbot, where he's a 6/6 instead of a 3/3. The first thing that comes to mind when I look at this card is Mech Priest new meta, because you can actually combo this guy with the Soul Priest, and it'll actually deal 8 damage to your opponent instead of healing them, but that is only if you have Soul Priest out and you're able to kill this guy off with her still on the board. Big ifs, big maybes. If you have her, it could work out really good. It's definitely 8 damage is a lot to take for your opponent, especially with you playing Priest. As we know, the Priest class isn't known for doing a whole lot of burst damage, so maybe we'll see some combinations with Mechs and Priests in the future, and this guy's Death Rattle, but as of now, I don't see that being some crazy combo. I don't see this being some ridiculous card, but again, I don't know. Like I mentioned before in the video, if I use this clip, that it's all like everything's speculation right now. I don't know what will and won't work until, of course, the set is released. I have all the cards and I'm able to, build decks with them and see what works and see what doesn't. Okay. So moving on from there, we've already talked about Cthulhu. We'll talk about the Polluted Hoarder. Ooh, wow, we can click on it. It actually brings up the card. My bad, I should have done that for all of them. So he's a 4-drop, 4/2, Death Rattle, draw a card. He's basically just a buff loot hoarder, so instead of a 2-drop, 2/1, he actually gets, twice the attack and twice the HP, but he's twice the cost. So it's really, there's nothing too crazy about this guy. He might make his way into Freeze Mage. I don't know. I don't see why you'd want to play a 4-drop. You basically play Loot Hoarder and a Freeze Mage to just be able to cycle the card for 2 mana, but for 4 mana to cycle a card, or to draw a card, I should say, really doesn't feel that great. But he'll probably find his way into a few decks. I don't know yet, but he doesn't seem that great off the bat. And the last card we're going to talk about here is the Validated Doomsayer, and this is a 5-drop, 0/7. At the start of your turn, set this minion's attack to 7. So he gets silenced. You just spent 5 mana to develop a 0/7. He also can die when you play him, when you end your turn, because as long as your opponent has 7 power on the field, you're able to pretty much wipe clean a 5-drop. So on my opinion, this card looks like complete shit, but there's probably some sort of synergy that we don't know yet that's going to make this card work really well, or maybe it's just a shit epic, and then they just wanted you to, when you open a pack, you get an epic and you're really excited, and then you're like, fucking Doomsayer, damn it, and then you get sad and you get upset. But hopefully he finds his spot, but off the bat, on paper, and on paper I mean I'm just reading it off him, he looks like shit. With that said, that's basically everything that the stream went over today. There wasn't a ton of information, but the information they gave us was enough for us to really be looking forward to the future cards that they release, and they said they'll be releasing some more cards over the course of this weekend. And then I guess following into next week is when we're going to get even more cards. And as we get closer to the actual release date itself, they should have released all the cards by, I don't even know. As we get closer, obviously they'll release more cards. So we'll kind of bushel those cards together and probably do anywhere between 10 to 20 cards at a time. We'll review them, talk about what we think about them, and I'll be really excited to do that. Sorry again, this video is not in the proper fashion we're normal to. I don't have my green screen like I mentioned before. I'm kind of sad and I'm not in my normal environment, so this video is not as good as I'm normally, or not as good as it should be, but I'm sorry about that. But I did my best with what I got. Anyway, guys, Always love to hear you. Love to have you here at the inn. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave that in the comments section below. Always enjoy reading through those. And as always, I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day is.